Fonts. Fonts. So what about fonts? Fonts. About fonts. A font is a complete set of characters, by the way, and letters, numbers, and symbols that share a common weight and width and style, such as 10bt, Adobe Garamond Bold, and typefaces, and often called type families or font families, and are collections of fonts that share an overall appearance, by the way, and are designed to be used together, such as Adobe Garamond. And a type style is a variant version of an individual font in a font family, by the way. And typically, the Roman or plain, the actual name varies from family to family. And a member of a font family is the base font, which may include type styles, such as regular bold and semi-bold and italic and bold italic. And if a font doesn't include the style you want, you can apply, by the way, Fox styles and simulated versions of bold and italic and superscript and subscript and all caps and small caps styles. And typefaces, by the way, include many characters in addition to the ones you see on your keyboard. Depending on the font, this character, by the way, can include ligatures and fractions and swashes and ornaments and ordinals and titling and stylistics and alternates superior and inferior characters and old style figures and lining figures. And a glyph is a specific from a character. For example, in certain fonts, the capital letter A is available, by the way, in several forms such as swatch and small cap. And to make fonts available to Photoshop and other Adobe Creative Suite applications, install them in these system folders like Windows fonts and macOS library fonts. And what about preview fonts? Preview fonts, by the way, you can view samples and font styles menus in the character panel and other areas in the application. From the following icons are used to indicate different kinds of fonts, by the way. And we have many options here. Fonts from TypeCat and OpenType and Type 1 and TrueType and multiple master and OpenType SVG and OpenType variable fonts. And to turn off the preview feature or it changes the point size of font names, choose type, then choose font preview size, and then choose an option. So what about match fonts? Match fonts is meaning updated in the October 2018 release of Photoshop CC 20.0 to include search for Japanese fonts, by the way, and take the guesswork out of identifying certain fonts, and let Photoshop do the hard work for you. And thanks to the magic of intelligent imaging analysis and using just a picture of a Roman and a Latin or a Japanese font. And Photoshop, by the way, can use machine learning to detect which font it's and match it to licensed fonts on your computer on TypeKit, suggesting similar fonts like the next image now. This image, by the way, explain for you find matching Japanese font in an image, and you should to follow these steps now. Step number 1, you should select the area of the image containing the text whose font you want to analyze firstly. After that, step number 2, you should select type, then select match font, and Photoshop actually displays a list of fonts similar to the font in the image, including fonts from TypeKit. Step number 3, if required, you should choose a type option and Roman or Japanese. Step number 4, if necessary, deselect show fonts available to source from TypeKit to view only fonts available locally on your computer. Step number 5, in the results, you should click the font closest to the font in the image. Step number 6, you should click OK, then Photoshop selects the font you clicked. And be careful please here in this point. Match font classification, and font similarity features currently work only for Roman and Latin and Japanese characters. So what about best practices for selecting text for font matching? You should draw the selection box such that it includes a single line of text, and also you should to closely crop the selection box to the left and right edges of the text. And you can't use match font on a single typeface and style, and don't mix typefaces and styles inside the match font selection. And after that, straighten or correct perspective on the image before choosing type and choose match font. So what about search for fonts? Search for fonts. By the way, you can quickly access your preferred fonts by starring fonts as favorites. Like this image now. Look at this image now. Explain for you. Star your favorite fonts. And while searching for fonts, you can narrow down the results by filtering fonts by classification, like serif or sans serif, or by visual similarity. And further, you can choose to search among fonts installed on your computer or synchronized fonts from Typekit. So what about tools for searching fonts? Tool for searching fonts. Look at this picture now. Quickly find the fonts you need. A is meaning filter fonts by classification, and B is meaning show synchronized fonts from Typekit, and C is meaning star favorite fonts, and D is meaning show similar fonts. And we have options here now. What about filter? Filter is meaning filter the font list by classification, such as serif, script, and handwritten. And what about what's the meaning of show fonts from Typekit? It's meaning display only synchronized fonts from Typekit in the font list. So what's the meaning of show favorite fonts? It's meaning show only starred fonts marked earlier as favorites. And what's the meaning of show similar fonts? It's meaning show fonts including fonts from Typekit and that are visually similar to the selected font. And what about choose a font and font style? How to choose a font and font style? How to choose a font and font style? By the way, choose a font filter in the character panel or the options bar if more than one variant of a font family is installed on your computer. For example, italic bold and bold italic. The different variants are grouped, by the way, under the same menu item, and you can expand this item and select the desired variant. And by the way, you can use the up and down arrow keys to navigate the font list, and using the command control plus down arrow key combination over a font family, expand it, and using the command control up arrow key combination over a font family or a variant within it collapses the font family. And look at this image now carefully. Font variants grouped under the same menu item. And note and be careful here now, please now. If the font family you choose doesn't include a bold or italic style, you should click the Fox Bold button or the Fox Italic button in the character panel to apply a simulated style. And alternatively, choose Fox Bold or Fox Italic from the character panel menu. And actually, try dynamic shortcuts, and dynamic shortcuts are keyboard shortcuts that are available, by the way, and in edit mode only from the character panel menu for Fox Bold and Fox Italic, and all caps and small caps and superscript and subscript and underline and strike through. And you can't apply Fox Bold formatting, by the way, to wrapped type. And also you can search for a font family and style by typing its name in the text box. And as you type, fonts whose names contain the text you entered begin appearing. Continue typing until your desired font or style name appears. And what's the meaning of change the font on multiple layers? How to change the font on multiple layers? We have two steps. Step number 1. In the layers panel, select the type layers you want to change. Step number 2. In the character panel, select type characteristics from the pop-up menus. And what about missing fonts and glyph protection? What about missing fonts and Glyph protections. By the way, if document uses fonts that aren't installed on your system, you see an alert message when you open it, and if you later try to edit type layers with missing fonts, Photoshop, by the way, prompts you to substitute an available matching font. And if many layers contain missing fonts, you can quicken the substitution process by choosing type, then choose replace all missing fonts. And Glyph protection protects agent incorrect, by the way, and unreadable characters that appear if you enter non-Roman text, for example Japanese or Cyrillic, and after selecting a Roman font. By default, Photoshop, by the way, provides Glyph protection by automatically selecting an appropriate font. To disable Glyph protection and deselect enable missing Glyph protection in the type preferences. So what about OpenType fonts? OpenType fonts is meaning OpenType fonts use a single font file for both Windows and Macintosh computers, and so you can move files from one platform to another without worrying about font substitution and other problems that cause the text to reflow. And they may include, by the way, a number of features such as swashes and dictionaries and ligatures, and that aren't available in current PostScript and TrueType fonts. Note here, please, now. OpenType fonts display the icon in the font list, and when working with an OpenType font, you can automatically substitute alternate glyphs such as ligatures and small capitals and functions, and child style proportional figures in your text. And OpenType fonts use a single font, by the way, file for both Windows and Macintosh computers, and so you can move files from one platform to another without worrying about font substitution and other problems that cause text to reflow. And they may include, by the way, a number of features such as swashes and dictionary ligature, and that aren't available in the current PostScript and TrueType font. And OpenType fonts display the icon in the font list, by the way. And when working with an OpenType font, you can automatically substitute alternate glyphs such as ligatures and small capital and functions and old style proportional figures in your text, like this image now. This image now explain for you. We have A and B and C, regular in the left side and OpenType in the right fonts. A is meaning ordinals, and B is meaning ligature and swatches. And OpenType fonts may include, by the way, an expanded character set and layout features to provide richer linguistic support and advanced typographic control. And OpenType fonts from Adobe that include support for Central European CE and languages include the Word Pro as part of the font name in application for font menus. And OpenType fonts that don't contain Central European language support are labeled, by the way, and standard, and have an std suffix. And all OpenType fonts can also be installed and used alongside and the PostScript Type 1 and TrueType fonts. So what about apply OpenType features? Apply OpenType features, we have steps. Step number 1. Make sure you have an OpenType font chosen when using the type tool. And if you don't select any text, the setting applies to new text you create. Step number 2. From the character panel menu, choose one of the following from the OpenType submenu, by the way. We have options here now. Standard ligatures are typographic replacements for certain pairs of characters such as FI and FL and FF and FFI and FFI. Like this image now. So what about contextual alternates? Contextual alternates is meaning alternative characters included in some script typefaces to provide better joining behavior. For example, when using Typefaces script, Pro with contextual alternatives enabled, and the letter BL in word prom is joined, by the way, so that it looks more like handwriting. And what about ligatures? Are typographics replacement characters for letter pairs, and such as CT and ST and FT. And note and be careful here, please. Now, also the characters in ligatures appear to be joined. They are fully editable and don't cause the spelling checker to flag a word erroneously. And what about swatch? Swatch is meaning substitutes swatch glyphs and stylized letter forms with extended strokes. And what about old style? Old style is meaning are numerals shorter than regular numerals, with some old style numerals descending below the type baseline. And what's the meaning of stylistics alternates? It's meaning formats stylized characters that create a purely aesthetic effect. And what's the meaning of titling alternatives? It's meaning formats characters usually all in capitals and designed for use in large size setting such as titles. And what's the meaning of ornaments? Ornaments is the meaning are devices that add a personal signature to the type family and can be used as title, page decoration, paragraph markers and dividers for blocks of text, or as repeated blends and borders. And what's the meaning of fractions? Fractions is the meaning that automatically formats fractions, numbers and separated by a slash, such as 1/2, are converted to a shilling fraction, by the way, such as 1/2. And you can preview, by the way, open type features such as contextual alternates and ligatures and glyphs in Photoshop before you apply them. And however, you can preview and apply open type features by using the Adobe Illustrator Glyph panel, and copy and paste your text into Adobe Illustrator and use the Glyphs panel to preview and apply open type features. And you can then paste the text back into Photoshop. And how to open type SVG fonts? Open type SVG fonts. Photoshop, by the way, supports open type SVG fonts and chips with the trigon color concepts as well as the emoji one font. And open type SVG fonts provide multiple colors, by the way, and gradient in a single glyph. And on the Mac OS platform, the Apple Color emoji font is supported, by the way, to a limited extent, and even so, it's not an open type SVG font. Like this image now, open type SVG font, multiple colors and gradients, like this screenshot. And the emoji fonts, by the way, are an example of open type SVG fonts using emoji fonts, and you can include a variety of colorful and graphical characters such as smileys and flags and street signs and animals and people and food and landmarks and etc. in your documents. And open type SVG emoji fonts, by the way, such as the emoji one font, lets you create certain composite glyphs from one or more other glyphs. For example, you can create the glyphs of countries or change the skin color of certain glyphs depicting people. So what about open type variable fonts? Open type variable fonts, what's the meaning? We have weight and width and slant. Open type variable fonts support custom, by the way, attributes like weight and width and slant, and optical size and Photoshop ships with several variable by the way fonts for which you can adjust weight and width and slant using convenient slider controls in the properties panel and in the character panel or options bar, and search for variable in the font list to look for variable fonts, and alternatively look for the icon next to the font name. Like the screenshot, this image now explain for you. Font list, some variable fonts. We have many fonts, many kind of fonts here now. In this image. And in this image also, properties panel, if you would like to select weight and slant. This image explain for you properties panel, slider controls for variable fonts. And as you adjust the slider controls, Photoshop by the way automatically, it chooses the type style and closest to the current setting. And for example, when you increase the slant for a regular type styles, Photoshop automatically it changes it to a variant of italic.